We don't, okay. All right, so we're going to this is the Nantucket Visitor Service Committee meeting, March 19th, 2019. We're at the conference room at the Wanacoma Water Company, and this meeting is audio-video recorded. And we're going to start our meeting, but I can't wait for her to come into the approval of meetings. But Barry Thurston is here. I just want to make sure everybody knows him. He's going to be talking to us about the trustees of
Reservations.
Yeah. Great point, but do you know Karen Maycumber, Barry, do you know?
No.
I don't think so. Hi,
No,
nice
hi.
to meet you.
Good to see you.
And do you know Peter?
No,
Oh.
no.
Oh,
Good to
really?
see
Thought everybody knew Peter.
It's okay.
What?
Now one more person.
What? Peter Morrison, Barry Thurston, and do
Peter.
you know everyone else? So far?
Yeah. No, well, to say hello to
Sharon Quigley, this is Barry Thurston.
Barry.
So can I get the approvals of the minutes from February 20th?
So moved.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Hi.
Nobody opposed? Okay. So now I will turn this over to Janet and Barry, I guess.
Yes, we asked Barry to come and to tell us about the service out to the tours and stuff, out to Great Point. Because it's a very popular item, we send a lot of people that way from the office.
You do, thankfully. Should I start,
Yeah,
Ken? I didn't
please,
know
yeah.
if you were going on or not.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here representing not only the Great Point Association, but the trustees of reservations. And in case you don't know, the trustees is 110 years old, I think, started in Boston. And right now in this state, they have 117 properties. Their mission is, of course, the conservation and protection of open land in this state only. So when I tell you there's 117 properties in Massachusetts, and they actually, let's use the word control, either own or manage about 46,000 acres in conservation today in this state. So Great Point Cascada Cotuit Reservation is one of 117. It's 1,100 acres, which for Nantucket is a big piece of land, big piece of land.
1,100 acres, you
Yeah,
said?
a little over 11. So that includes not only what you see going up to the lighthouse, but for the first couple miles going down to Cotuit, as far as exit number 8 down there, that's all trustee property. So, big piece of land. I'm really sitting in for Diane Lang, who's the superintendent of that property out there. I give the tour guides, and I think that's what I'm here to talk about. So during the summer months, from mid-May to actually the October 12th weekend, we give 2 natural history tours a day. We leave from 32 Washington Street, 32 Washington Street. We have a van that's 4-wheel drive equipped, of course, and we take up to 8 people a tour. 2 tours a day, as I said. And we take them depending on the time of the year. I mean, for the first half of the summer, we usually take them out to the very point, which includes a walk up top of the lighthouse. But after about halfway through the season, that part of the beach gets closed because of piping plovers. So we detour the tour and we get down Cotuit. But generally the tours are always filled at 8 people. So it's a popular tour. And just in case you want to know, the tour costs $60 a person, or $40 if you're a member of the trustees. But it's a 3-hour tour.
What about for kids?
Pardon me?
How much are the kids?
$25.
What's
We
that for?
we don't recommend the tour for really young kids.
No.
Yeah,
I think we
3 hours is a long
started
time,
8.
like-
It's a long time,
Yeah.
and kids get antsy, and as a result, the rest of the people trying to enjoy the tour don't. So generally, 8 years old is as young as we'd like to go.
Before you did before you went to Union, and where is it on Washington Street? They do get the bus.
32, it's right
32
opposite
Washington.
Rick Kodalak's store.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, I just gotta make sure that I have that for my town.
It's the
But I-
Brian Mitchell property there.
Yeah, oh, Mariah Mitchell property?
Yeah.
Okay. I used to bring people out there all the time and then pick them up. For me, as a
Yeah,
taxi, it was
yeah,
wonderful. Then you went
right.
and got the bus.
Right.
So, but it's, you know, but I still tell people about it all the time, and I'm glad that you have, before it was you had the open vehicles, and the
Yeah.
mosquitoes were
Oh, they're
horrible. It
awful
was-
out there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
was
was-
before my time.
Oh, well, that was pretty cool.
I
It was
can't imagine. They have
Yeah.
these open trucks with
Yeah.
bench seats in the back.
bench seats, I don't know how they.
You'd have to sell
Mhm.
people a seat and give them a can of Raid at the same time. Because one of the great things about the property is that we have one of the largest salt ponds out there
Yeah.
and meadows on the East Coast, and it's great, but you get the bugs with it.
Yeah.
I got stuck out there and I got rescued by that truck with my kids and we came back and we were covered.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was like a horror movie.
So the van we use today
Yeah,
is
it's
really
really
a
nice.
great van.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
air conditioned,
Yeah.
comfortable, and it's enclosed.
Mhm.
So,
What kind of narration do you do?
yeah, well, we talk of a few things. Certainly, we show people the property, and that's usually what gets them across. We talk about all the different birds on the property, but it's not. I do stress this: it's not the Linda Loring type tour that really gets into birds.
Yeah.
We talk about different birds and tell them a little bit about it, and that is generally what people want to know. Get too much into it and you lose the people
Yeah.
because they're not on a birding tour, I think. And of course, the first half of the season where we take the lighthouse, that's the highlight of the tour for most people. But the seals are out there. Are they ever?
And that's what they talk about, they're fascinated with the seals, the lighthouse and
Yeah.
the seals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, last Saturday had a tour, which is unusual, but there was a group of 8 people from Korea. And they really came down to see the seals.
They're
Yeah.
from
Quite
Korea.
spectacular.
Yeah.
And we had seals all over the place out there on Saturday. So-
Mary, do you have any sense of what is distinctive about people who are attracted to this tour? I mean, we all have our sense of the average, the median tourist who comes to Nantucket, but my sense is you probably capture a particular type of motivation or interest, and I'm just curious if you have any intuitive feel for the type of person who goes to this, other than they obviously have an interest in nature and birds, perhaps.
Well, you're hitting on it, Peter, but yeah, I think in general, it's a person that wants to see a part of the island, not downtown. So it's the type of person that's not interested in the stores or the restaurants. They want to get out and see a big part of the
They
island.
made a mistake in where they booked themselves on their first trip, and next time they come, they know where to.
Well, maybe, yeah.
And the other question I had is, do you have any sense of, there's a great unmet demand that, you know, if you had 10 vans, you could probably fill them all up during the summer?
We couldn't fill 10. We have one van and we could probably, as a matter of fact, 5 or 6 years ago, we had 2 vans and we kept them busy.
Yeah,
So we
sense
could
is
probably
that-
do 2.
Yeah, my sense is there's more than 8 people per day during the summer that would,
16, right.
would like to do this. And the other question I had is, how do people find out about this?
We advertise in, various
Hotels,
magazines.
you send
Okay, so there's
Hotels,
brochures.
Yeah.
locally
Brochure.
hotels and so
Yeah.
forth.
Right,
But
so if you're a
Book a
first-time
ton of
visitor,
people.
you see a brochure and you say that appeals to me.
Right, but the trustees of reservations now has over 100,000 members in this state. And they all get a brochure every year listing all their properties and the activities on that property. So that's probably where we get a lot of people.
I see, so you've got a huge pool.
Yeah, we do.
I get you.
Yeah, we do.
Can I ask what, the dates, I forget, you don't start till a little later, right?
Well, really, we start when we get business,
Oh, all right.
okay?
See, 'cause-
Like I did a tour the other day.
Really?
But
Okay.
we won't get going until mid-May.
See, because we don't even bother trying to recommend, because we thought you don't start until then, so.
Well, the problem has been, since I've been there 5 or 6 years, we've had 3 directors. And
Okay.
2 of the directors, in the wintertime, shut the phones off.
Right.
And I've always said, I'm here year-round,
Wow.
I'd love to give tours, and they always say, yeah, we'll keep that in mind, we'll do it. Well,
God,
there was no doing it because they shut the phones off. Diane doesn't shut the phones off.
Okay.
She would love to give tours all year long if we could.
So if we have a group that's coming in,
That's
April or something.
Absolutely,
I didn't
anytime.
realize that.
I didn't
Okay.
either.
Yeah, well,
I always thought they should do snowy owl safaris in the winter.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good
Market
idea.
it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
you know, the property itself, I tell a lot of people, is not, it doesn't look the same as it does in the summertime, but in the wintertime, it's beautiful in a different way. I mean, you could have great tours out there.
Yeah.
You know, of course, you're limited, who would want to do it in the wintertime, but hopefully we'll do it some.
You would be surprised though, January and February, people talking about that with the snowy owls, because they were doing it on the Cape, actually, last
Yeah.
week they did I just read that somewhere, maybe it was a
Yeah,
Cape Cod
I
Times.
wouldn't be
Ginger
surprised.
takes out a few tours every once in a while, doesn't she?
Yeah, and my neighbor and I go out on January
Yeah.
1st each year on our annual snowy owl safari.
Yeah, we were out there
It's good to know that.
maybe a month and a half ago, just me and a couple guys went out.
And is it
Saw a
still-
couple snowy owls,
Yeah.
too.
I'm sorry.
So,
Is it still like 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock?
It's, we
Something
pick
like
up
that.
people in Washington Street at 9
Okay.
and 1.
And then the tours are after when you get out there.
Pardon me?
And then the tours are when you get out there.
The tours are when we get out there?
Yeah, I mean, so the tours, I mean, not everyone goes out on the vans, because I still do bring people once in a while. Yeah.
Right, Diane, but probably 95% go by
Go out
van
there.
from.
So then once you get out there. you do
That's
it.
why the cab business is off, right?
Yeah,
That's
we'll
my
talk-
fault. I'm the
We'll
one.
talk later.
I'm the one, when I was at Mariah Mitchell, I
It's one of my
negotiated
favorite
that.
things to tell people, you're responsible?
When I was at Mariah Mitchell.
We'll talk later
I
too.
negotiated that.
I mean, it's because
What's
it's
that,
some
the
really
parking
great
spot?
people that
Parking
go
spot,
and do
yeah.
these tours and,
Yeah.
they used to do a sunset.
We
Is that
used to
it?
do a sunset, we didn't last year.
that would be great.
We used to
Yeah,
do,
we would sell it
there
out.
was a couple different tours we used to do. When I first started there at
Yeah.
night, I used to do the lighthouse tour. We actually had an agreement with the people at Sankaty. We'd pick them up in Warwick, run them over to Sankaty, go up the lighthouse, and take them back and run them out to Great Point for
Oh,
the
that's
the
great.
lighthouse
Wow,
at
that I
sunset.
didn't
It's a
know.
great tour. I don't know, Diane, we had 2 vans at the time and we kept them busy. Then all of a sudden, we get the decree from the home office that we only have 1 van. So you gotta put it to the best use we could, so a lot of those tours got cut out.
Yeah.
Was the cutback to 1 van for economic reasons, or?
My guess is, Peter, it is, but those are the people from the home office.
Right,
I don't know.
okay. Just out of curiosity, what would you, in your position, look to visitor services and say, you could help us do X, which is what you want to do? Sounds like you're constrained by having only 1 van, which,
We are now, of course, yeah.
yeah, and that,
Yeah.
and you can only do 2 tours a day, basically, with.
That's right.
I mean, it's like at least a 4-hour
Right.
schlep from downtown, do
Right.
the thing, and then bring everybody
We
back.
could do 3 if we had the personnel, and we could get the personnel. The
Right.
3rd one being a sunset tour.
I mean, I can see a lot of ways to scale this up for economic reasons.
You could,
And
right.
I can also envision that there's probably unmet demand and a way to magnify it or amplify it by a huge amount, because I never knew that you could get picked up downtown. I would have told friends about it and say,
Right.
don't worry about getting out there. Just,
Right.
that's one of the things you don't want to miss while you're here. And, 1/10 of 1% of the people on the island's gonna quadruple your business.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
And I'm just wondering, it sounds like you're constrained from the higher ups in terms of having the resources to.
Right,
run
right,
it.
that's true, right.
I do
And-
know that last year several times, well, not some, maybe a few times, they were sold out when I had suggested to people, and when I picked them back up, and they said, but they did say, well, if we come back, that's what.
Diane, just as an aside, I'm sold out about every day.
Yeah, we
It's a
try and get
rare
people
day
on
that I
when
don't
we can.
have
Yeah,
a full van.
Yeah, and my own feeling is that this is really a showcase thing. I mean, you can go to all sorts of places on the planet, and this is the only place where you can get that experience, and I'm betting there's a huge
Yeah,
you know, number of people who, if they knew about it, would say, boy, that's what's really
yeah.
interesting about Nantucket and kind of burnishes the
Right.
reputation.
I don't know how many people during the course of summers, as soon as I hit that outside beach, they look and
Oh, yeah.
they just say,
Wow.
they didn't know places like that even
Yeah,
existed
yeah.
today. Yeah, So,
So do we see any solution to this?
I almost think the limiting numbers isn't a bad thing.
isn't a
Because
bad
it-
thing?
I don't think it's a bad thing.
I don't
I
know.
think
It was a different group.
It does
Mhm.
talk about demand,
Yeah,
but it also lets these people know that they're special and they will
Yeah.
keep you full every day because of their word of mouth.
Right.
So just, you know, we don't want to,
yeah.
I guess I don't want to see it be a factory.
Oh, I know what you
Where
mean.
next tour, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's special
Right.
because of what you do. And the fact that people come back
Yeah.
and they love, they have an
My
expert.
threshold is
Talk
about,
fish too.
my threshold is 16, not 8.
Yeah, well, but
Yeah.
16 a day
But we
is,
get, we
you
get a
know.
lot of disappointed, we get a
Yeah.
lot of
Do you
people that are
really?
really
Yes.
disappointed because they come out and they wanna see that.
Yeah.
And they don't want, excuse me, they don't wanna, number one, they can't even rent a car, cause half the cars are gone, to get out there to do it themselves. Nor do we recommend it, cause it's too easy to
Yeah.
get stuck.
They don't know what they're doing.
So if we don't book that really far, and I don't know if you find that too, Sharon, yeah, we
A lot of
can't,
people.
yeah.
We could easily get a third tour, say the evening tour.
Hmm.
That would be
That was
huge.
so popular.
Yeah, I would,
It's popular, but I know the year I did it, it's called the Sunset Tour. And we tried to plan it so that the people were up at the lighthouse, on the lighthouse at sunset. Well, you know, Nantucket, half
Yeah.
the days are
Yeah.
foggy, you can't see, you get up there and you couldn't see the ground.
That's
So-
true. That
Part of the
did
charm.
happen.
but I know the
Well,
boat
yeah,
sunset
except if
tour.
you're trying to get a view
Yeah.
from the
If-
Go
top.
up.
If you accept my premise that the ceiling ought to be 16, not 8, and I'm not saying that it should be the same, my sort of intuition is that I would rather it not be like trying to get a car ferry reservation in August where you gotta be calling up the first day that they open and say, I'm one of the lucky people. But if you accept that premise, I'm just wondering if there's a way of subcontracting this to people like Peter Brace, who has a van and who could do the job, so that we could at least make it possible for people who say, you know, I got to make a reservation because I knew I was coming to Nantucket, and I called a couple weeks in advance to make a reservation. And then we could scale it up, you know, if you wanted to 16.
We're doing
When you say 16, are you
now.
talking
Yeah.
16 people a day?
No, I'm talking about 2 vans, which would be,
Okay,
whatever you
16
have
to
per
a
day, it would double it.
Yeah.
And that would be about my threshold responding to what you're
Actually-
saying.
Actually, when they had the open vans, did they have 2 of them that would go out at the same time?
I don't know. I do
Just-
know that when we had 2 vans, they were enclosed vans,
Right, did you go out at the same
Yeah,
time, 2 at
yeah.
one and 2 at,
yeah.
gee, so,
Mhm.
I guess I'll go back to Peter's question, do you think that, so it's the people that are running the homeland
Right.
that have that have taken away the van?
Yeah,
Which I
all-
find, because since as long as I've been taxiing, I constantly tell people about that, I mean, constantly.
Mhm.
And I know the type of, you get to know the type of people that wanna go out there.
Yeah, they're all different
Right.
kinds, yeah.
You know, one thing we haven't talked about, Diane, it's sort of in line with, I don't give these tours every day. I give them on Monday,
Oh, that's
Thursday,
right,
and
yeah.
Friday. And
Yeah.
then there's another guy that gives Saturday. Point is, there's 2 days of the week we don't give them at all.
Right.
I did not know that.
We
Yeah.
used to.
Okay,
I used
I
to work
didn't-
the 5 days, and it seemed to me I was always busy, but the decree came down to cut 2 days out.
It's gotta be
Really,
a
I did not
budget.
know that, cause I was,
Well,
budget
maybe there should be
Well-
some communication with the powers that be
Yeah.
to say there's a
Well,
demand
yeah,
issue out here.
Do you have any
Because
idea
X
why they
number
would
of
line
people
the number of,
keep
the
track of who gets
utilization of
turned
the
away.
van?
I have an idea that I think they felt by cutting a couple days, they would assure that the van was always chock full on the days that they ran.
I see.
Now, it's not, actually, it's not, it's a 12-passenger van, we only take 8 people,
Oh,
okay? But it's a 3-hour tour.
yeah.
You don't wanna crowd it. you
Right,
know,
right,
you
yeah.
know.
And I think it's wear and tear on the vehicle too. Those four-wheel drive
Yeah,
vans are
yeah.
expensive.
These things cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a regular van that we have to have sent to a custom car shop and have it made into a four-wheel drive vehicle. You're talking about a lot of money.
So I can understand that.
Well, I
And it
think
needed to be after the safaris, because everyone would come out with,
Well, I'm looking at it, and your cash flow is 3,500 hours or so a week. You know, 14,000 a month, that ought to take care of maintenance of the vehicle.
Yeah.
I assume you are not becoming a millionaire by driving the van around.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
personally?
Yeah.
No.
It sounds to me like communication would help, saying that we have a huge amount of demand, and it would make sense to utilize the van as much as possible. And I don't know where the money goes, but I assume that some of it goes to headquarters.
Oh, for sure.
And that, you know, if you did it 7 days a week, it certainly would pay for the maintenance. And if you did it 7
Yeah.
days a week for a summer, you could probably buy a second van for the next season. It sounds like there's a huge disconnect in terms of understanding what's going on.
Yeah, the only thing I say is that the trustees is not sleeping on its heels. They've sent people down here, you know, every once in a while, you know, reviewing this operation and so forth.
Huh.
And they,
But you see the illogic that it
Yes,
looks
I
like
do.
to us.
yeah,
I'm just wondering, is there any way we can help? Say, I think coming from visitor services, it would carry some authority to say this is a special tour, and there's a lot of disappointment among people who can't get on at all. We'd like to make it just, you can get on, but it's hard. You have to plan ahead. We could escalate up to that. And
Well, there
the-
might be a way that you could capture the people you're turning away. You know, if the call comes in.
Oh, yeah,
How
yeah.
many times have
Right.
you know, I've turned away 12 people today.
Tell them
So
to call,
maybe-
yeah.
yeah,
6 days might
Right.
help.
yeah.
And then you build the revenue to buy another vehicle. My concern is if you've only got one and it breaks down, you're out of business for probably
Yeah,
a week.
that's
That's true,
actually
yeah,
a
that's
very good point.
another
You
argument.
know.
That
And-
happens, by the way.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
because we all know what it's like to get something fixed in
Right.
Yeah.
July or August.
That's kind of
So-
why, you know, my thinking is going in the direction of if we could somehow engage the kind of person that we would want, and the only person I can think of is Peter Brace, you know, who is clearly your type of person with a van who knows what he's doing. I
I
don't know
don't
if
think
he'd
his
be the
van is
person.
four-wheel drive though, because I've asked him about
Really?
doing tours.
Yeah, that
And he
probably
said
the
he couldn't
case.
afford to make
Oh,
it.
okay.
There are a lot of
four-wheel
vans
drive.
that aren't four-wheel drive.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's any other way we could facilitate things.
I
It
don't
sounds
know
like-
if, I don't know if this would fall into, but on trustees' properties, no matter where they are, there are no commercial enterprises on that
Right.
property except our own.
Yeah,
So if you're thinking of, say, Peter Brace running his own tours out there,
no, I was thinking of
Uh-huh.
saying he becomes effectively
okay.
like a feeder airline,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay,
United Express
Mhm.
for United Airlines. He's just so. I'm just looking at a way we could scale up in a way that fits with what you're dealing with.
Mhm.
Once we've established communication, and my recommendation would be to let's do whatever you think would help to communicate with
yeah.
the people, and
I think
at
you're
least
on-
you can communicate to them that there's a huge amount of unmet demand and disappointed, you know,
Yeah.
visitors who have an interest in that.
Well, I think if the visitors center felt it in their place, they should send some communications, probably through Diane.
Yeah.
I
All
mean,
right.
she's, pardon me?
I wouldn't bypass her,
No,
yeah.
no.
No.
Well, maybe in
Yeah.
conjunction with
She'd be the
lodging
first one to jump
association,
on it
maybe
and-
the two
and
groups
forward
could
it to the
sign a letter
trustees.
together or something.
I'd still want to talk to Diane to find out what some of the rationale
Gotcha,
behind the
gotcha.
decision.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because it's a pretty well-run organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've met the president, whose name escapes me at the moment,
I
at the
forget.
time when we were setting up that deal with the parking space. And it's the best party on the island, the one at the end of the summer, out there with the barbecue and stuff. And when they redid the lighthouse, I was out there for that when
When
Ted
they
Kennedy's
what?
wife, when they rededicated the lighthouse.
Oh, a few years ago, you
A
mean,
few
yeah.
Years ago,
right.
yeah, that was a great event.
Yeah.
And it's also three conservation organizations that are part of that peninsula, right? I mean, you guys manage it,
I'm
but
trying
it's
to
the
think of the
Wildlife
third.
Service and the Conservation.
Conservation found, Conservation Foundation.
Yeah,
Yeah, they own a huge
yeah,
portion of Code 2. But actually, they own a little narrow strip right across the peninsula, right at the beginning of it, after the last house.
Uh-huh.
In other words, to get onto the reservation, you gotta cross their property.
yeah.
But the third one,
Fish and Wildlife Service.
oh, way up the very end,
Way
I
up the
forget
very
them,
end,
yeah,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
One other question I have, just to fill out the picture, where does the money go that comes in from this tour? I assume some of it goes to the higher up part of the organization.
Peter, I can only tell you that's my guess. I have no idea.
I would, you know, my impression is that I'd like to have us contact, was it Diane?
Yeah.
Diane, and just say, you know, here's the way it looks to us. We'd like to help any way we can. We see a situation where it's a win-win for everybody. More revenue coming in to cover the cost, presumably some of it going into the trustees' account, so it's a way of satisfying unmet demand and also buttressing the, you know, the positive cash flow into everybody's budget, with a view toward eventually being able to fund whatever additional infrastructure is needed and cover maintenance. It sounds like, you know, things just aren't, there's a huge disconnect in terms of the demand. I mean, it's a really special thing.
It
And
is.
it's a shame that you know, we couldn't maybe have twice as many people enjoying it.
One quick question, so what's the minimum number of people you need to go
Two.
out? Just two?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right, that's good to know.
And you do private tours, right? Well, you do private tours outside the regular scheduled ones,
Absolutely.
outside the season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you do
In-
shorter
in
tours?
season
Can
or
you
out-
do- So if I have a family, because I'm thinking about my clients, they're
Mhm.
Yeah.
they're younger kids, they still like to get out there, they don't want to rent a car, they can't get a car.
Yeah.
Would you do a shorter private tour?
We do, however, I think it's probably the same price as a longer tour. It's a price of the
Price is not
product.
an issue.
Yeah.
It's,
Okay. Oh,
yeah,
sure.
they've opened their wallets pretty wide to get here, and
Yeah.
they're willing to spend.
Yeah, the example I
But-
gave last week in the group from Korea,
Yeah,
they had one thing, they wanted to go out and see the seals.
yeah.
They
that
didn't
was
want,
it.
they had no interest
Yeah.
in the rest of the property, so it's zip out, show them
Yeah.
the seals and zip back.
So like an hour round trip,
No, no.
2 hours?
Closer to 2.
2 hours,
Yeah.
okay.
How many people like you are there that can give the tour?
2 of us
Two of you?
that do the tours.
Yeah.
Not can do. There's probably a lot of us that can do it.
Okay, so you could, you're not short on personnel who could do the quality job that would need to be done.
Well, I think right now they'd have to hire somebody else.
Yeah, I get you.
But
But I mean, there are qualified people who could do it.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I'll tell you another sort of thing just to keep in mind, and I picked this up when I was working at the airport, and a couple of guys got off the plane, and I was conversing with them, and I said, so what brings you to Nantucket? And they said, well, our boss just bought, the master of the universe just bought his mansion here on Nantucket.
Yeah.
And he's holding an off-site for the top management. I said, oh, I see, an off-site. That has something to do with the IRS, okay. And I said, so what are you gonna do while you're here? And there were all sorts of things that the boss had arranged, in between business meetings. One of them was a tour, a customized tour. So there's a market out there for people who are doing off-sites, and they're totally price insensitive. You could say it's $4,800, not $48.
We've done a
And,
fair amount of
yeah.
that, especially through the hotel out there, the one.
Oh, yeah, I
Oh,
bet
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
huge amount of,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, so anyhow, we got some ideas.
And I think if lodging and, visitor services, kiosks start recording how many times things are sold
Yeah.
out, that might say, hey,
That's a
listen,
great
we
idea.
had disappointed people
And we know the
because,
demand.
Yeah.
they didn't
Yeah,
book a
you
month
can
ahead.
certainly, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That would be easy to do.
Then it might say, oh, maybe there is a reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then that would be an easy argument. It wouldn't just be
Yeah,
us guessing.
you know.
For every 8 people who enjoy it, there are 80 disappointed people
Yeah.
who want to talk to you
And
about
that would be
why.
simple enough to figure out. I'm sure Diane could punch the computer once and tell you
Well,
how
yeah,
many,
'cause she gets.
how many of
she
the
gets the
tours are
call.
full.
Yeah.
It might be a better track record, because they're numbers as opposed to, I think we need another van.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk to her, yeah, I'm
Because
surprised.
that's huge
that-
money.
Have you found that,
So do we invite her?
that people last summer could not do the tours?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
A-
did
A
as
lot of
well.
the times we would
And I had
call
no
and
idea-
you guys would be full, yeah.
I had no idea it was down to one, and which totally surprises me, because I just thought that was, and even a couple of years ago, when you had 2 vans, it was still, you had to call early to get out there, and,
Yeah.
to get a reservation.
Yeah, when we had the 2 vans, Diane, we also had different tours.
Yeah,
And actually, when I started out there, Diane, I was doing fishing tours out there.
yeah.
That's the only reason I ever got involved.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we did, we did that for a couple of years and,
Well, it's so successful, and people talk about all the time, they talk about the seals, getting in the
Yeah.
lighthouse, seeing the deer. A couple of people saw, some people in their natural habitat, out there in the dunes.
Oh,
That was-
boy.
That was one tour.
we don't make that part of the tour, but it
Yeah,
gets
that
to be.
did happen.
occasionally
All
it
kinds of
happens.
wildlife,
All
huh?
kinds of wildlife.
Yeah.
Just as a procedural suggestion going forward, I don't think we have to collect any data. I think if you just say there is strong anecdotal evidence that, that there's a huge amount of unmet demand, and that, if you threw another van on this thing, it would be full every day during the summer, and we don't know how many vans we'd have to scale up to before we ran out of customers. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think there's any doubt that you could persuade.
One thing to consider, Peter, and I don't know this, I'm only guessing it, the vans would be full every day, I'm sure, for July and August.
Yeah,
But it's 12 months a year, those things are sitting
Yeah,
right.
unoccupied or unused for 7 months a year.
I have a suggestion on that. We have a lot of people coming the shoulder season, and they're looking for things to do in the winter, and we're
Yeah.
always trying to do different types of events. So what we're doing a wellness retreat this weekend, this coming, not actually next weekend. But one of the things that, going back to Peter's point about corporate events, they're always looking to schedule things in. There was this group called Capture Nantucket that started last year. Has anyone
yeah.
had experience with them? We've had great experiences with them. They go out with, they go out and do photography tours for novice photographers or experts.
Oh, I have
And
heard
they'll
of it.
take people out with their iPhones and teach them how to capture
Oh, interesting.
moments on Nantucket, just even with your iPhone. And they do kind of a combination of of a wildlife tour and a photo tour, but I think there's great synergy between what you're doing and what they're doing, and you may want to think about reaching out to them to broaden the types of tours you're offering, and just maybe invite one of them along and do a photo tour out there, at sunset at the lighthouse.
Oh,
I
God,
mean,
yeah, we would
that be-
promote that like crazy.
Yeah, I think it's fun to hear a tour, but I think it's really nice when they get to learn something about how to take a picture, or take a picture home with them, or, know that it's gonna be a little bit more than just sitting and hearing. It's gonna be.
There's a lot of anecdotal evidence for what you said. I mean, I know that Peter Brace has got a lot. Peter Brace is a good person to talk to because he picks up a lot of this customized stuff. And one of the interesting things about this is if you want to have a pre-booked custom tour where you say we got a bunch of people who are interested in this, you can price it accordingly. I mean, it's a huge.
Like
it is-
fishing,
yeah,
photography.
mean,
I
this is
think
just
having a
way,
theme
you
is
know,
really
it's-
nice.
It's a natural success story to build on,
Yeah.
which is a pretty rare event, in. in the
Peter
tourist-
Brace does walking tours, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He does walking tours, but he also does all sorts of, he'll customize a tour to what any group wants. It may be walking, it may be,
Yeah.
I think what they're interested in is somebody who explains to them what they're seeing,
Yeah.
or as you say, there's a special interest.
Yeah.
And don't ever think of the shoulders as 7 months when the vans would sit empty. I'm sure that, with a little
could
bit of
help
help,
fill
they
them.
would be full.
I could
If I
too.
knew,
November,
if I knew more
December.
about
I
it,
had no
I'd have
idea
to
we
get out and see
could.
it. Because I've got we're now finding that we're so busy in the fall with weddings.
Weddings, yeah.
September to November, September and October are packed with weddings,
Mhm.
and a lot of those people are empty nesters who are coming to their
Yeah.
niece's wedding, and they need something to do, and they're
Yeah.
not going to the beach, and they're, you know, not necessarily shopping, and so some of this stuff is great, and then
And I think owl tours.
owl
snowy
tours,
owl
like,
tours.
I
I
think
think that would
theme
be
tours would
great,
help,
yeah.
I think there was something.
Do a special Nantucket rate.
I have never-
Locals,
I have
yeah.
been advocating for these tours, and I've never ever done one, and Alfred was gonna take, does Alfred still
Does it Saturday,
say, he was gonna, he
Yeah.
said, someday, Diane, and I said, well, I just haven't done it, but do you find in the fall that it's busy? Cause when I was, before
You
you
sure
got the
do.
bus,
Yeah,
Yeah.
September.
and I used to always get, September and October was, it was constant for
Yeah,
both tours back and forth.
Yeah,
yeah.
Um,
They,
and even at one time, they went past Columbus Day, because there was some weddings,
right, yeah.
I went out with the birding group once when the white-fronted goose first showed up, probably 10 years ago. But we all threw in money and rented the van, and they drove us out there, and we saw the white-fronted goose. I spotted it, Ken Blackshaw still hasn't forgiven me.
When you say that, when you rented a van, you mean you rented the trustee
We leased
van?
we leased the
Yeah,
van. Yeah.
we have done tours for Linda Laurie
Yeah.
before.
Uh-huh.
Generally, they'll bring one of their people along, you know, to
Yeah.
get further into the
Yeah.
birding knowledge, but,
The interesting thing from what you're saying is that the notion that the van will sit empty is a bogus notion. When you think about it, I mean, it doesn't need to sit empty, given everything that we know about what the uses to which it could be put.
I don't know how much you do in the wintertime.
Not necessarily in the winter, but I mean, you know, let's say 9 months out of the year or 10 months out of the
Nantucket
year.
Hotel.
I don't know,
right?
we're rocking.
Yeah, we are.
If I knew a little bit,
Are
if,
you busy too, right?
I think the 3-hour tour and saying that the kids, you know, that it's not exciting for kids, I think if there's a way to make it more family, maybe the fall tours are 2 hours and there's a little bit more stuff that makes it comfortable for the kids, I could fill it easy, I could keep it busy, because I've got people all the time, especially on the weekends.
We could
So
also.
maybe you just run the weekends more,
I mean, a
That
lot
would
of
probably be
you
it,
know, a Friday, Saturday tour,
right.
or
If
Sunday
the,
morning.
you know, if they wanted to do it, that wasn't, we wanted to find out information about, you know, the dates that you ran
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
prices and everything.
That's really exciting.
yeah.
It's good stuff.
Thanks, I'll give Diana a call and talk to her about
Yeah, thank you for
communicating
That would-
coming.
Boston.
About what?
Communicating with Boston, where
With,
they're
right,
located.
yeah.
They're north of Boston, right?
Where are they, up in Ipswich,
Yeah, I think they're in Ipswich.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful
Crane is-
state up there.
Probably the Crane Estate.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Rain Estate,
Great,
It's
yeah.
beautiful.
They've got a lot going on,
yeah.
I've been there for meetings.
yeah.
There's
really
a
pretty.
place called Bird Park near my stepdaughter's house, that the kids can ride their bike to. It's great, and they do summer plays and got all
Yeah.
sorts of playgrounds and wide open spaces, and they're just everywhere. And
My-
the farms that they
My
have.
daughter lives in northeastern, and a little town
Yeah.
near Brockton, and it was settled by the Ames family a couple hundred years ago. And the Ames family became billionaires by making shovels. Can you believe it? And they
Yeah.
made their first money on the Transcontinental Railroad. Then the World War I came along, and they became fabulously wealthy, and they've donated all these lovely old buildings throughout the town to the town. They have huge amounts of conservation property that they've turned over to the town. The town, the last couple of years, has turned it over to the trustees.
Wow,
So there's an example of, the trustees don't own that land,
yeah,
they manage it.
yeah.
And that's happened a lot. I think they have somewhere around 23,000 acres that they manage, don't own. Add that to the 25,000 they own, you know, Massachusetts is a fairly small state.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks for coming, Barry.
You're
you.
welcome,
Thank you.
thank you for
Very
having
And
me.
those that don't know, that Barry Thurston, the fishing guru,
Yes, yes.
In
I'm
the-
not sure that you caught his last name, and I would love to be on one of your tours, incognito.
Yeah,
We'll wear hats. and
Yeah,
glasses.
incognito.
we know you, Diane, you can
Yeah,
sit
yeah.
by.
But they don't
That's our
know you.
problem.
Margaret's not out at the gate anymore, but she should hear about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Barry,
That's good.
thank you
Thank you for
so
having me.
much. That's
Thanks, Barry.
one of my favorite things to tell people, so,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
All
Bye-bye.
right, take
Bye-bye.
care. Thank you.
Well, it's great to hear about a success story that
Oh,
could
yeah,
be
it's-
doubled with just a little bit of,
They're lucky to have him too.
Oh, yeah.
I know,
yeah.
they're lucky to have all
Yeah,
the
he
people.
seems
Oh,
really
he's-
neat.
Oh, he's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody who works for the trustees
Long time.
here is a
Oh,
special
I you can
person.
tell,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
he knows the water and fish for sure.
and Al's been doing it forever, once, Al.
You know, the interesting part is when we talk to them, just to get the conversation going, is there's such an obvious strategic objective, which is to say, you've only got one van, if it were to break down, what a disaster. You've got the opportunity to get a replacement just by, running it for one season by optimizing it. Get the money, buy a second van, then you've got a backup, and if you just want to stop there, you've accomplished a very important objective, and you can get a sense of what the market is with two vans, and then it's just a matter of how many days of the week you run it. It's such an obvious thing to do.
It'll be interesting to see what they
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
I'm
And you
sure
do
there's some
see a
bureaucratic
lot-
reason that he doesn't necessarily know.
Yeah.
I would
Gotta be,
assume
yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, because I know when Steve was out there, he and I would talk at length about running the vans and how susceptible they are because it's such a harsh environment.
Right.
That I'm sure that they put it to bed for a couple of days to give it a rest. But, and they did have two for a while, and partly because one was almost breaking down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there may also be a reason that they want to protect the environment a little bit. They don't want so many vans running out there all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe they feel like it's disruptive.
But we're
in some
really
way.
the judge of that, aren't we, here on Nantucket, rather than
Don't-
quote them?
Well, maybe.
Well, they may be
I don't
getting
know.
that
They
feedback
may.
from the superintendent.
Yeah.
This- Diane may be saying,
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah, somebody
Well,
has
if that's
given
the
them
case,
feedback
then
that-
there's a legitimate reason.
Yeah, that
Right,
we want to
that's
protect the
probably
environment.
it. But they did used to have those two big, I'm telling you, the people, and it
Yes.
was safaris, people knew enough
Yeah.
to wear the safari hats. I mean, and I say that not jokingly, but seriously, they wore the hats and covering
Oh,
and.
I know.
Yeah.
You were
firsthand.
Netting.
there.
They still
And they
use
were-
those trucks to save people right now, so yeah.
Yeah, but they would be sitting for 3 hours and they took a lot more people than 8 at that point. So, and this was, then when they got the air conditioned vans, I thought, this is really cool. And somebody stopped the taxis from going out there.
well,
Oh, where you're in
the-
trouble.
the argument was
They're
that
wonderful people, I loved it. No,
visitors
there was a
who didn't
need
have
for it.
vehicles, it was hard for them to get out there.
Yeah, there was a need for it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
which is true.
Yeah.
'cause there's
We've
not
even
enough
talked
cars to
about having
rent.
the vans come by visitor services, but I think they've got a
Yeah.
great thing where they are now because
Let 'em
Barry
go
can
there
park
'cause
his
it's-
car there and
yes.
take the van out.
Yeah.
The only challenge is just we do have some people that go that are not as mobile, and one of the
Yeah.
reasons they do it is because they can't walk the beaches.
Yeah.
So if they have to get over there, it's a little bit of a walk for them, but.
Where's 32 Washington?
33,
Across-
it's actually 33.
Across like
Yeah,
Mariah
so I
Mitchell.
thought.
Right, Mitchell.
Oh, it's Maria.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's just, this is one of my favorite things. I tell them to go do that and then, that's just good.
Well, this has been a good example of how we can uncover hidden opportunities that haven't been
Yeah.
fully optimized, just by having somebody come in and brainstorm with us.
Maybe they don't want it.
Yeah.
Well,
I know, they
if
may
they want
not
to
want
protect
it.
the environment, they can turn the
Yeah,
switch
but
off
there's-
on private vehicles
They
going
may
out.
like to.
They may like just, but
Well,
they
keep
did
it
used to have 2
exclusive.
tours though.
Yeah, they
That
did.
Yeah.
That bothers me a little bit, that that's been reduced because it's been busier and busier, and you had, I know that, I don't think, I don't wanna keep telling people to go there, and then most of the people that I told last summer were not able to,
Yeah.
as it was
They should
sold
go
out,
back in the fall.
so.
Well,
I-
and
I-
but
actually, it
actually,
was
I
the
didn't
fall.
realize, no,
Yeah.
I can't, I'm probably not the only, did you realize they would go out with just 2 people on the shoulder
No, I
season?
did not
I
know that
presumed it
either.
would be.
Yeah, so we should probably
Fuller
let
group.
this lodging association, the next meeting, know that too.
Okay, anything else anybody wants to discuss about preservation? Go on to director's report if everyone's.
Yep.
Well, we just completed the annual One Book, One Island event. It was March 1st through the 10th. Events almost every day, and it wrapped up with an event at the NHA. And I organized the coffee crawl, where there was a little passport, you filled it out, and gave away 9 gift cards. So I think it was a really successful event. We haven't had the debrief yet on it, but I'm sure that that will be coming up. I've also been working with several nonprofit organizations in a new restaurant downtown called Or the Whale, which is the subtitle of Moby Dick, on Melville's 200th birthday celebrations. And we're gonna be, I think I mentioned this last time, putting podiums around town with different portions of Moby Dick for people to do their own read-alouds.
What is Or the Whale?
Or the Whale is gonna be where Met on Main is.
Okay.
Do we know when they're
Sure.
opening?
They're hoping after
Sign?
weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
They came in last week, so they might put one of the podiums at their location too, out on the patio, so. David has been developing a variety of itineraries for how to spend a day on Nantucket.
Nice.
Tours and stuff.
I've got like 8 or 9 in the
Nice.
hopper now.
Then
So,
we've been,
I
because
mean,
we've been trying to,
between like 5 options of a day on Nantucket,
Mhm.
2 for like a weekend on Nantucket, 1 for like 3 days and 1 for 2 days. So it just, I'm all over the place with it, but I'll share it with you guys at some point once I fix.
That would be
tighten
so great,
everything
because
up.
we had to create our
and will
own.
they be
Yeah,
downloadable?
Yeah.
I
for
create
website?
my own,
Yeah.
We'll probably put it
All the
online,
time.
we'll definitely put it online at some point, but I'm still like
Still-
trying
We're
to
still
tweak
writing
it.
them, but we're trying to use our website as our electronic information aid.
Mhm.
And we do have the PDFs of the walking maps up there, the Mariah
Mhm.
Mitchell one and the Sconset one are up there now.
Right.
They are, aren't they, David? Did I just make that up?
They should be, I could double check, just make sure that
Yeah,
they're in the
I
right
think I
place.
saw them last time I was up there. I've been working with the transportation planner and the DPW director and a few other folks to look at coming up with a uniform bike rack design for downtown. Because there's the possibility of putting another bike parking area between the town building and where the sheriff lives. And so we want it to all look the same, but we don't want the HDC to come by and after we spend $10,000 on bike racks and tell us that they're really ugly and inappropriate. And we're doing the same thing with water fountains, because we want to put in some outdoor water fountains around town in anticipation of the 2020 single-use plastic bottle ban. And they're probably gonna rejuvenate the one at the Pacific Club. They've been talking about rejuvenating the one at our building, but I think it's beyond repair, so we might put a bubbler on the outside of the building. And then a third one might go up near the Fair Street Pocket Park for people to fill, because we're gonna be giving out water bottles this year with a QR code that says where the indoor filling stations are. And we can add outdoor filling stations, but the indoor filling stations don't work if it's 7 o'clock and the building's closed, so.
Mhm.
And will the outdoor be bottle fillable or just a water fountain?
I'm not sure. I think there's different ways of doing it. Mark Willett is looking at
Yeah.
options.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't
Well, some
just
of
like, yeah,
Yeah, if you can't fit the bottle in there.
right.
Make sure all the restrooms are open.
Yeah. And we've met with the licensing department to review how Children's Beach vendors can sign on there. We inherited a process that we've been following, but it turns out that we may be in violation of procurement law, so we're looking at how we can line up with procurement law so that we'll probably use the same vendors. They're just gonna have to jump through a few more hoops to do the kinds of activities that they wanna do there, because we certainly don't wanna be in violation of that, and you don't wanna be visiting us in the pokey. And finally, I've been working with the high school student council and the chamber we're putting on our second job fair on April 2nd at the high school, and at 2 o'clock, the students can come in, and at 2:30, we're gonna open it to the general public. And as of yesterday, I had 22 organizations call in to have tables set up, so.
Nice.
That's good.
It's going pretty
Haven't
well.
done that in a while.
Yeah, last year was pretty successful.
I think
Years
it's nice,
ago.
even if it's not just a job, I mean, it's a job fair, but for those high school kids, it's also a little bit of a career fair to get a feel for what the work world looks like
Yeah.
and give them some ideas. So I think it serves a dual purpose,
And some people recruit volunteers there too, and kids can get, their
like internship
service
or
out, or
community
service hours
service.
in, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good to see. Years ago, the Women's Bar Association out here used to do that.
Yeah.
And we also had, remember those classes? We taught kids how to write resumes, and they
It's-
got a little certificate from the chamber that they had
That's
gone
nice if
through.
you add in a
So
few, like,
that,
I
is
wish they
something
still
that
did
maybe
that.
could rejuvenate too.
tips
later
on how to market, how to
Oh,
apply
yeah.
for an interview, coaching, like a little
We
coaching
gave out
table,
little
and when you go for your
certificates.
interview, what do you need to do? How do you behave?
Yeah, don't show up at the restaurant at noon to interview for a job. So that's what I've been up to. And of course, we're getting ready for town meeting.
Any questions? I have one question. Talking about restrooms, movie theater, people were complaining this winter that the movie theater was closed and couldn't use the restrooms. When
There-
they first built that, I believe that they were, what,
The Chapter 91 requires them to be a public restroom, but they have negotiated with the state what their hours are for when those restrooms are open in the winter and in the summer. And I don't remember what they are, but they have fewer hours in the winter than they do in the summer. And last year I had to ride him starting in June because he said he didn't have enough staff to keep it open, and I said, I don't care. So-
okay. I just wanted to bring that up. I meant to call you on it because it was, if I get more than one complaint, then kind of listen to it. If I get more than two, then I try to find out what, and I did. So, and then I checked it myself. I said, well, I'm driving by, I'll pull in. You can't always do that, but sure enough, there was
Yeah,
closed, so.
I've got a folder on it, I can find out what the hours
Okay.
are.
All right, so they're in compliance.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yep.
Did they first start being opened more in the winter the first year?
I don't remember, I wasn't in the office at the time.
Okay.
On the subject of restrooms, I know, this is kind of carrying over from last year. I know that's been a big kind of sore problem. Do we have any notion of what's going on, and is there anything that?
9 years I've been on this visitor service committee, and that was always been my problem, because it's the first thing people will say when I'm parked in the taxi, where's the restrooms, where do I go? And people, a lot of people in the fall, they don't wanna, they're walking, some of them are mobile, some of them aren't, and we're gonna have water, bubblers and water, we're giving out water bottles, and where would they go into the restrooms? And I was serious.
It was also a
when I-
matter of the
it's-
quality of the existing inventory of restrooms,
So
that
we
they
either
were
go to Main
filthy
Street,
dirty and everything.
or down to the wharf, or the green building, the bus.
Do we have any notion of whether the town is cleaning them up? Or whoever is responsible? I don't know.
There is a capital item
I don't
for
know.
repairing restrooms, I don't know where it is at this point.
I don't know.
Right now, they're trying to get bids to put a roof on our building. Have you looked at our roof lately? It's like tar paper. Yeah.
But that is a, concern, because that's the question that's constantly asked.
We had a request from the Sconset Trust, not Sconset Trust, Sconset Civic Association, to extend the hours at the Sconset station. And we're working with DPW on figuring out what those hours would be. So we looked at our data for, it's, not everybody who comes to the visitor center goes to Sconset, and not everybody goes to Sconset, comes to the visitor center. But we can see trends in when visitors are here, after October, after the mid-October holiday. So at least through stroll, probably.
Well, now with the bus running longer, you get, we send people out to Sconset still.
Yeah, same here. And that is something that we brought up, as long as the buses were going out there, the bathrooms would be open. And now it's year-round and the bathrooms are not open, they probably can't be because of heating. Would there be a problem with heating it? That was brought up at one meeting.
When we used to manage them, we had a water break, or a pipe burst because of the freeze.
Right.
It froze earlier than expected, and we had to replace the pipes. So that's the problem out there, it gets colder out there with all the wind coming in, from the ocean.
But it should be, it's open from Daffodil on, right?
Well, that's what started it. Once, it wasn't once, and
Yeah.
I don't know, it should be open Daffodil, and if it could be open through Stroll,
No,
I don't know.
My understanding is
structurally
they
if it
are
can
open
be.
on Daffodil, starting Daffodil, but they're only clean 3 days a week through about Memorial Day. And then they go full-time. But I may be wrong.
No, I think that's right. So
Just
how do we
a-
find out that they're for sure open Daffodil weekend?
In the correspondence that I've been having with Chaz about extending through stroll, he told me that they open on Daffodil weekend.
They
Yeah,
open.
I think that's been in the
Okay.
notes from the Chamber Daffy
Yeah.
Okay.
Committee.
Just a general comment, I really feel that we should be the advocates for the restroom policy on the island. it's a horrible thing to happen when you have huge numbers of people exposed to an environment where they say, it's such a great place, but how awful it is. And this is such an easy thing to be overlooked in the midst of all the chaos that goes on during the season. It's not, I mean, I'm concerned about the winter time, but what I'm really concerned about is the impression it leaves during
Yeah, but
any part of the
Visitor
season.
Services used to do all of the management, right, David?
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, we should advocate for some kind of a system.
Unfortunately, DPW was mandated to take things over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
So we have to advocate. I mean, this is kind of like our
Well, I don't know what
responsibility.
it means, but I'm in regular communication with the DPW about toilets, so what I can
Okay.
do beyond that, I have no idea, Peter.
Okay, as long as we're advocating, that's
Yeah.
all I want to be sure that some way we're filling that role.
Well, those are the two questions. What do you do all winter and where's the bathroom?
We
So,
trespass, but we call it birding.
so. All right, anything else for Janet before we move on? One more question. We're meeting here. What is the reason we're meeting here?
We thought we'd wanna try it out.
Okay, so, because, do we still have the meeting rooms at the police station?
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
training room is really being used as a training room now. I look at that calendar every day and it's always got fire department or police training going on in it. and
Just
that's what
this
it was
time of
built for.
year?
Mm.
No, all year round now. Now that they've started shifting that calendar, dedicating it to training, probably about 8 months ago, when we got kicked out of there. I mean, the community room is still available.
Yeah,
the big
community
one.
room, we have the community room reserved all the way through the end of the year.
Okay, that's all. I just wanted to know if things had changed or shifted. No, this is really nice.
Yes,
Lovely
it's
space.
great.
Yeah.
Mm.
Except just for the parking.
Except for the parking, yeah.
But now we know. Now we
Yeah.
know where
Now we
we can
know.
park.
Well, the parking isn't our problem, it's their problem. I mean, we used all their parking spaces.
Right.
I think this is a great place to meet as an alternative. I'd say,
Yeah.
if it's a problem, this is just as good, if not better.
Yeah, and we're really limited on conference space, meeting space now
Mm.
in the town, so.
Yeah.
I had to book a bunch of rooms for planning discussions at the NHA conference room a week ago, because there wasn't anything available.
Just wanted to make sure that was, so we do have a choice and.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is really nice,
It is nice.
yeah. Okay, anything else? I've done mine. Anybody else for Janet before we go on to David? Okay. David.
Okay,
Visitor Service Coordinator.
I included the stats for February along with January because basically, just want to kind of compare the months. February, we had 52 visitors. The phone calls started inching up again. We had 2 placements and 17 mailings of TNLs. I can tell you, as of in March, we are more than double that for mailings. People are starting to call, plan out, make their plans for the summer and fall. So the phone calls, lodging inquiries, and requests for TNLs and other material are starting to pick up, for at least for March. One thing that we are now including is I wanted to highlight 5 things from the website. In addition to the travel lodging brochure being downloaded 490 times in February, that weekly restaurant list is
Yeah,
very
it's
popular.
huge, yeah.
I
You
use it.
you are the
Okay.
authority of where to eat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we use it,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's proof of it.
And if it's incorrect, if there's something incorrect, and I always tell people to call me. People call me and say, hey,
Yeah.
can you change this? Good example, Roasted General Store over here on Orange Street. I had misspelled the name. There was an asterisk where there's no asterisks. So, and then somebody else from somewhere said, hey, we're open this day of the week now.
Right.
So the good thing about this is I can change this on the fly.
It's really
So,
helpful.
that is one of our most popular, probably the popular thing that's downloaded. I do want to point out, if you notice the total page views is 653, that's like people coming into the front page. The restaurant list people bookmarked so that they go to that right away without going into the rest of the page. The room list was downloaded 233 times over February, and the winter guide was looked at 133 times. So that is getting some traction there, and as we go along, we'll add some more stuff to help people, as Janet was indicating.
I think
So,
I'd be curious to see when you do your walking little
Yeah.
vacation tours.
Yeah, how those,
Yeah, those would be interesting numbers
I mean,
to
I'm all
capture.
over the place with like 5 different options
Yeah.
for the day. I'm like sending people in different directions and like, you know, having to do this, do that. We'll probably include those in the next meeting just so you look at it, or give you a heads up on them or something like that. But they are, I guess, overdue. I've been thinking about them for a while. Janet's been very helpful in getting this going, so. But that's pretty much all I have.
Are you designing those walking tours for different demographic targets? Those, or not the walking tours,
just
what to do for the day?
what to do for the day.
So
And
like,
they're
you've
kind
got
of-
little kids, the playground at
That
Children's
I'm-
Beach, the playground at Jetties, you've
That I
got
was gonna,
teenagers.
I've been
you've
thinking
got-
about doing
I
a
think-
kids version,
I think,
and I will include that in
Like,
a separate.
I think it'd be helpful, young children, teens, empty nesters.
Mhm.
I think if you had, because those 3 demographics are, sometimes don't do the standard stuff, like
Well,
knowing where the playgrounds are
Mhm.
for the young families is really, really helpful.
mhm.
And for the teenagers, you know, they're not quite going into the bars to drink,
Mhm.
you know, they can't really enjoy Cisco, so like, the standard list may not apply to them, but there might be something we can figure out.
Okay.
Throw the skating rink in there, I keep telling them.
Skating rink,
there
right, I work at the rink, it's
to-
great.
I tell them a lot of times, because they're in between, they don't know what to do, and I go to the skating rink.
Go to the skating rink, there's a skateboard
Yeah,
park, they
skate
can
park.
bike out to the skateboard park.
Do the skate.
But those little hidden
And they can take the
things,
bus to
Yeah.
both the rink and the skating.
yeah,
park.
so
If-
I think if we think about the different audiences, it's helpful
Yeah.
as well as just the
no,
general
that's-
public.
That's good to know, you know, because I had been toying with that idea about doing a kids one. I
Yeah.
just haven't finished that one yet, so.
I have a question, that's January and February, 61, which I was impressed with, but it's really busy with that 3-day, January 19th with
Yeah.
Ellen Hildebrand,
Mhm.
that's really busy. But I was impressed with the number of, is that, I know that we don't have last year's, but do you happen to know if that's was that the same last year,
Yeah,
the
it's
same
about,
numbers
it's about on par.
On par on both
I could
January
go
and
back and look
February?
and, you know, let you know, but it's pretty much about the same.
Okay,
The only difference is that we, remember when we
Right,
recalibrated,
right.
there were less.
this is an honest.
But
yeah.
this is basically everybody except the mailman.
Right.
And, you know,
It's a
DPW
lot.
guys getting trash, but, you know,
and 3 fewer
Right.
days in February, that could account for the difference
Mhm.
Yeah,
between
Yeah.
52 and 61.
yeah, that's good numbers though,
Mhm.
yeah.
David, one thing, and I'd be interested too, with you, Sharon, I ran into Ken from Union House. I know I'm sold out for Daffy already, which is way earlier than last year. He
Okay.
said that he is also almost
Well,
sold
wow.
out.
I don't know where we're at.
So I think that's booking up earlier this
Yeah.
year, honestly, so you might wanna just
Be aware.
be aware of that, yeah.
Okay.
Busy.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm starting to get questions about like who's open for Daffodil.
yeah,
so-
exactly, so it might not hurt to do a quick, survey.
Do you have, at one point I saw the restaurant closing list. Did you create that in the fall? The
That is
restaurant?
an internal list that I don't publicize, although,
The restaurant, because I'm thinking
that
it's
was
nice,
something
I'm
that-
looking at
that-
like, what's the opening? Do we know
I
when
generally
these-
try not to publicize that. Gene had requested it, I
Yeah.
didn't realize he was gonna,
Oh, you put it
broadcast
out
all
there,
the, you know,
okay.
that.
But it was helpful, because I've got people calling now for, you know, May and asking for restaurant reservations, and I'm just not sure who's gonna be opening when.
Okay, I'll in touch with you, so,
Okay,
Okay.
cool, thank you.
all right.
Thank you, David. Anything else?
Oh, that's it.
So the next meeting will be April Are you faster than me?
What's the date, April?
April
It's
9th.
supposed to be the
Oh,
16th.
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually supposed to be the
It's
9th.
supposed to be the 9th, but
Yeah.
what do we have that, when is town, oh, that's
That's the
election.
election.
So are we doing
So-
9th or 16th?
Leave it up to Janet?
I need to see
Thought
if
you
the
had some-
strategic planning thing is happening on the 9th or not, and I will know that tonight.
Okay, so then you can just
Yeah.
let us
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and we can meet here perhaps, or we can eat.
Well, we can try to meet here, it depends
Okay,
on,
okay,
So you'll
sometimes
just let us know.
all right,
they've, got their own stuff going on in here.
right, okay.
Yeah.
So then the next, and then who are we gonna have come visit? I forgot that.
We talked about having Tara Riley from the
Right, that's right.
Shellfish Lab coming in.
Shellfish Lab.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because she has been giving tours at the Shellfish
Right,
Lab, at the propagation lab, and there's a lot of really interesting stuff there. And that's has enormous potential for people who have any interest in the fishery at all. I've been on the tour a couple of times, and it's really a terrific
Families
showcase.
might like
And
that.
there's-
Would they like that? Would
Well,
be-
the-
There's
one of the
a
problems is-
segment that loves it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting story. I mean, it's interesting to me.
Yeah,
Of course, I'm with the Nantucket Shellfish Association, so.
I think there's a video online too that
Is
they're
there?
doing to them.
Yeah, and Tara does a
Nice.
really good job of it, and it turns out that it's been, I'd say it's a kind of a profit center for the Shellfish Association, because a lot of people get turned on and they say, oh, I want to join the Shellfish Association, this is a great thing.
It's not a handicapped accessible space though, so.
Yeah, it's not handicapped,
right.
and that's for sure.
Yeah, so it's, we
It's a
may be
struggle for
limited
Doesn't
in how
mean we
much we
can't
can
promote
promote
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of just, I'm selfishly thinking about what we do for families.
Yeah,
Maybe you can't go on the
And their day
list,
job isn't
but,
to give tours over there, so I think
Yeah.
they're gonna restrict it to a
yeah,
particular one a
okay,
day.
so they're not really
They're
there.
Yeah.
supposed to be propagating shellfish, not visitors.
Not-
right. But I know that, but I know that she's interested in giving the tour, and she's good at it, and I said, are you gonna be giving tours regularly? She said, sure, we'd love to, I think they have enough resilience and flexibility to have a tour a day, they just don't wanna be doing it all
They
the time.
actually, it's on their website, it's 9 to 12 every day, Monday through Friday,
Oh,
that's
nice.
available.
Okay,
That is actually on one of my walking
Right,
itineraries.
Right.
okay,
So,
okay.
cool.
Monday through Friday.
Anything else for the agenda? We're gonna be also thinking about whose terms are up. My term is up. In June.
I think I'm in a fill-in term, aren't I, for
So-
somebody?
Maybe you could bring that information to us if you have it.
Aren't I in a?
It's on the website, I think.
Okay.
There's no term limits. Can you stay?
I've done 9 years. I don't know.
I'm just asking.
No, there is no term limits. Okay, is there anything else? I just wanted to be aware of that, because sometimes it creeps up on us, and we've been caught with, either April or May talk about it, because then I think you have to put it in May, and then your
Maybe make those appointments in June, I
June,
think.
and then July, keeps changing. I just don't wanna be caught without. Anything else you need from us as the advisory board?
Not that I can think of. Today,
Town meeting, April 1st. Remind
not
everybody.
appropriate.
April Fools. We'll all be there.
Mhm.
And the daffodils will bloom shortly.
Oh, mine like this.
Yeah, well.
I can't believe at the Athenaeum, they came out and
Well, they're
popped
yellow.
up. I was almost gonna
They're
call you
supposed
and
to. I know, it's
say.
like, get the ice cubes out. Chill that ground.
Yeah. Well, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Approved. All in favor?
Hi,
Thank you, guys.
thank you.